So let's get into today's session. So this is going to be a series of sessions for the next 6 days. So my request is, if all of you can, without fail, attend these sessions, continuous 6 days, it would be quite useful. Because even if you miss one of the sessions, the connection is going to be lost, right? So between each sessions, there is a visible connect, and it would be good if you can attend on Zoom. Of course, the recordings would be shared post the session, but I really urge if all of you can attend these sessions in person on the Zoom. So that would be quite useful. So in each of the sessions, I'm going to share some presentations, PowerPoint presentations, and I'm going to speak through. It will be a session approximately for around 45 to 50 minutes. And after that, we would have probably a 10-minute Q&A as well. Right? Any specific question that any of you have before we proceed? Okay, so I assume the instructions are quite clear. Okay, so let me know once you can see my screen.
Yes, Guruji.
Okay, I also request, if possible, if at least few of you can turn on your video so that the session can be more interactive. Looking at your face, it always gives that extra energy for the speaker, right? Rather than speaking to the audience um, who are not who don't have their video on. So I request, if possible, I know it is late hours at night in India, but if you can turn on your video, that would be great. Thank you. Thanks for those who turned on. Okay, so before we start the session, as I always do, let us all combinedly offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord, Shri Shri Radha Krishna. So these are the presiding deities in ISKCON Chennai, along with their companion Lalita and Vishaka. So we'll pray to Shri Shri Radha Krishna so that this 6-day session of Discover Yourself will be beneficial to all of us, so that we become very dear to the Supreme Lord Krishna. And we will chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra with our prayers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. I am also offering my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of the ISKCON Society. He was the person who actually founded ISKCON, and he gave this Bhagavad Gita as it is. In the Gita Mahatmya session a few weeks back, I was explaining how Srila Prabhupada, at the ripe old age of 69 years, he traveled to the US in a cargo ship. He undertook so much of hardship. He went there, and en route he had 2 heart attacks. But never minding all the health challenges, he traveled all the way to the America, and he wrote this Bhagavad Gita as it is. He preached this Krishna consciousness to the Western world, and he made many disciples all across the globe. So all the teachings that we find in the ISKCON movement, it's all due to this person, Srila Prabhupada. So he's a very nice devotee of the Supreme Lord, and we can also offer our prayers to him so that whatever he has written in Bhagavad Gita, which I am going to present in the form of several topics over a period of 6 days, let those be understood by us, and we'll pray to Srila Prabhupada. Okay. The journey of self-discovery. what all we are going to see as part of these sessions. The week one, which is today, usually it is a weekly course, but we wanted to conduct it as a daily course so that we can complete it in 6 days. Bear with me for my sore throat. So today we are going to see a wonderful topic called Search for Happiness. So we will see what this topic is all about. And subsequently, we will see topics such as whether the God exists. So what is the scripture talking about God? And we also going to see who am I? Why good things and bad things happen to people. Topmost yoga system and practical application of Bhagavad Gita. Search for happiness. So this is something which all of us have been put through. Whenever we are put in a challenging situation, we always want to come out of that situation, right? Everybody wants to be happy in this life. Nobody wants to be unhappy, right? So that's the very nature of a human being, right? So what are people running in society for today? The underlying principle behind all our activities is that we wanted to become happy, right? Anything and everything that we do, what is the goal for that activity? The goal is to achieve happiness, right? So after all, everybody loves money, right? Even a child, so when he is brought up by his parents and when the child goes to the school, the thought process is completely put into the child's brain that if we study properly, then you can earn money and then your life will become happy, right? So happiness, we think that if we can achieve material prosperity in the form of our earnings, then we can be happy. But unfortunately, we cannot be happy all the time, right? If you introspect each of our own lives, you can clearly see there were moments when the situation was quite tough, right? We found it so difficult to overcome the situations. We all had different problems in our life. Even a kid who is studying in a school, if you go and ask him, he would say that going to school is problem. None of the kids like to go to school, right? Given a choice, they would stay back at home. The summer vacations, they wish that it could be a permanent choice. They could always be with their parents, playing with their fellow kids. Nobody likes to read or study, right? So at each levels, all of us were facing different kinds of problems, right? Whether we want it or not, problems keep coming. So in general, people are doing two things in parallel. One is they're trying to find happiness, and as and when they encounter some problems or some challenges, they try to solve those challenges. Right? So this is what is happening in all our lives, isn't it? So, but we fail to understand that in our little world of our family, our society, a set of people whom we get along with, our relatives, right? So we find a lot of challenges and a lot of misunderstandings. Unfortunately, we think that Those are the real problems, right? So, but the definition of real problem is something which is common to all, not just specific to one particular individual. For instance, a child may have a problem that he is not able to pass the examination, but that need not be a problem for you and me, right? Because we have crossed that stage. The problem that the child faces no longer appears to be a problem for us, right? So we cannot say that as a real problem. So the definition of a real problem is something which is common to all, something which no one wants, but everybody gets, right? So this could be the definition of a real problem. So there are three kinds of miseries which are mentioned in the scriptures. What are they? The first one is called Adhyatmika. Adhyatmika means the miseries which are caused out of our own mind and body. Right? So these days we find many of the people, even in India, so we have our own mental challenges, right? Especially with the way the materialistic society is being driven. So we are pushed by our peers to outperform. If we are not able to outperform, then automatically we get into stress, and that leads to a lot of problems related to our mind, right? And apart from this, of course, we all had our own bodily challenges. Recently, few years back as well, we all had this COVID, which was literally putting the entire globe into standstill. Right? Nobody went out. We were all so cautious so that we don't get infected. So basically, we all have these problems which are called adhyatmic, coming out of our own mind and body. And we also have problems which are created by the other living entities. It could be a small mosquito, right? Many of us who had dengue fever, they would be able to understand this. The insect is so small, right? But the impact it creates is quite catastrophic. It could even lead to death, right? So this is something which is caused by other living entities. It could be a mosquito, it could be a fly, it could be a person on the street, it could be your neighbor, it could be your own wife, right? So we all get into so much of problems because of other living entities. The Shastras say that this is called Adibhautika Klesha. Klesha means suffering. Adibhautika means that suffering which is caused by other living entities. And what about the natural calamities, which is called Adidhaivika Klesha? Right? Tsunami, earthquake, um, so many things, right? Volcano, flood, excessive rain, excessive drought, right? So all these can be classified as Adidhaivika Klesha, something which is caused by reasons which are beyond our imagination. So nobody can say why we were put into such trouble, right? Like for instance, the coronavirus. Till date, nobody could clearly say what is the root cause of that problem, where it all originated. Some say that it originated from China, right? But there is no proven theory. But these are natural calamities which are beyond our control. Especially the Chennai Vasis, every time the monsoon comes, we are always on the edge, right? We always look out for the water levels, uh, always skeptical whether I would be able to sail through this time. So 2 episodes, 2015 and 2023, right? So this is something which is beyond our control as well. So these are Adidevika glaciers. And if you look into these three aspects, each one of us would be having 1, 2, or 3 disturbances. And it could also be that there may be no common factor between you and me. Like for instance, if I am sitting in UK, I am not going to encounter any flood, right? So it could vary. Probably in UK, extreme cold weather could be a problem, right? But that is not going to be a reality in India, right? So these are not common problems for all of us. If you recollect the slide earlier, what is the real problem? That problem which is common to all of us. These are definitely problems, but they need not be common to all of us, right? So what then are the real problems? These are Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord Krishna is saying the real problem in life is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. So all these are the reasons for our dukkha, suffering. You may be wondering how birth can be a suffering. Birth is after all a happy incident. So all the parents, the grandparents, they all have such a great happiness, right? But just imagine the child in the womb of the mother. What kind of suffering the child must be undergoing? We all were inside our mother's womb, right? But fortunately or unfortunately, we forgot all the pain and sufferings. Just put yourself in this scenario. I am locking you up in a dark room without any proper ventilation. I'm not going to give any proper food. I'm going to give food which is too spicy, right? And the place would be filled with worms. How do you like it? Right? So that's precisely the position of the child in the mother's womb, right? It has to go through that suffering for 10 months within the womb of the mother. You may be saying, Prabhu, how come the child undergo that pain? It may not have a consciousness. No, the scriptures clearly say that the embryo in the mother's womb develop consciousness at a certain period of time. Right? At 7th month, the child undergoes consciousness. So it would be able to, the child would be able to perceive that pain. When the mother eats something too spicy, the child is going to get impacted. Right? All the more the place is filled with stool, it's filled with worms, it's filled with blood and mucus. Right? So that is why the scriptures say that birth is a problem. How about death? Nobody likes this word, right? Though all of us are going to face this, but none of us like. Nobody even want to think about death, leave alone facing it, right? One may say that some people, they just developed a cardiac arrest and the person passed away in few minutes. So what is the problem there? He had such a glorious death. But whether a person dies out of coma, struggling for several months, or he dies spontaneously, everybody, each one of us, when we die, the pain that we undergo is tremendous. Right? It is mentioned that when 40,000 plus scorpions, they bite us at the same time, imagine the amount of pain that we would undergo. that is something which you can equate to the pain that we undergo at the time of death. Right? I mean, you can logically think about this. Like, for example, when you are born in a place, you have a house, and you grow along in that house for many years, say 40, 50 years, and suddenly you are asked to go out of that house. How would you feel? It would be an immense pain for us, right? Because we got so attached to that house. How can we go out of that house? So we are so attached to our body. It may be 30 years, 40 years, or 70 years. How many number of years that we may live. We are so attached to our body. It's like getting attached to our house. When we have to leave this body and go elsewhere, obviously it is going to be very painful. Right? You cannot equate that pain to anything in this material world. But the closest that you can think of is 40,000 scorpions biting at the same time. So that could be the amount of pain that one undergoes at the time of death. So that is why it is said death is one of the real problems which all of us have to face. That's not all. Old age. Nobody likes to get old, right? Probably only the children, who out of innocence may want to become older. Like, for example, my child who is 8 years old, she is counting her days. When I will become 10 years old? When I will finish my plus 2? Right? She's already counting. Whereas somebody who has crossed 30, 40 years, he or she would always like to reduce her lifespan, reduce her age. Right? I have seen many people, when I ask their age, they would always say 1 or 2 years lesser than what they are. Right? Why? Because nobody wants to get old. But believe it or not, we cannot avoid old age. You may have so much of scientific advancements. You may do cell transmission or transfusion, whatever, right? But you can never prevent old age. Why it is such a pain? We have seen our grandmothers, grandfathers suffering at old age, right? So much of diseases, and they cannot do what they want to. They may have their desires to eat 10 gulab jamuns, but they cannot eat. They may want to bite a murukku, but they cannot because they don't have tooth. Right? So old age is a definite problem. And the scriptures also clearly say that Janma, Mrityu, Jara. So Jara means old age. And what is the fourth? Disease. Right? So these days, especially, we can find so many unheard of diseases. I was speaking to somebody who came from West Bengal. His son all of a sudden developed paralysis. When they went to the doctor, and it took quite some time to find the root cause of that problem, and eventually it turned out to be a rare virus which entered the child's body. Right, the child was he was probably 12 years old. Right, so that virus gets infected to probably 1 in a million. So that is the rarity of that virus. And it took the child close to 5 months to get out of that virus. He had so many complications. Right? So disease is not a joke. Right? We may not want a disease, but disease keeps coming. So these are the real problems of our life. We saw how everybody wants to be happy. None of us want suffering. But unfortunately, all of us have to undergo these 4 sufferings. These are the real problems in life. So what are we going to do about this? Can we make material advancements and find a real solution for our problems? Is that possible at all? We can even find in our own inventions and technological innovations, right? Information technology age. You may say that you have global connectivity, information transmission is so easy, easy interactions. There is no struggle at all. You just give you just connect to a person sitting in US through WhatsApp, right? So much of technological advancements. But in the contrary, you will also find all the negativities, right? These days, sense gratification is available in the form of a mobile phone. You get into all sorts of problems, pornography, health problems, right? You keep sitting in front of the screen, that is going to create problems for your health. And impersonalism, we don't know whom I am chatting with, right? So I have a problem, I am trying to connect to somebody, I chat, I don't even know who that person is. These days, with all the social media, we make friendship on Facebook, we make friendship on various other social medias. We don't even know who that person is. Eventually, when we physically get connected, that's when we come to know the real person, right? And invention of mobiles, right? So these are some of the technologies which we invented so that we can be happy. Our day-to-day problems can be solved, right? So that's the whole reason why we invented all this. We are always available, easy to contact, speed of work, but no privacy, right? Extreme stress. It is mentioned that the beep sound that we get in WhatsApp, that is actually increasing the stress level of human beings. We wanted to know who has messaged us, right? So that kind of creates anxiety in us. So all these technological innovations, which are meant to be solving our day-to-day problems, in turn are creating more problems, right? So many advancements of science, nuclear technology, right? But in turn, it is producing nuclear weapons as well. And when the nuclear weapons get in the wrong hands, like for instance, these days it is in the hands of North Korea or Iran, it is going to destroy the whole world, right? And what about medical field? One may be saying, Prabhu, for my grandfather or grandmother, whenever they get disease, there was no cure. But these days we have all medical advancements, cure for diseases. But unfortunately, there are side reactions as well. You take any medicine, it has its own side reaction, right? And you cannot say that we have cure for all the diseases. You may produce a lot of vaccines, but new diseases keep evolving. People get infected with new diseases, right? So how much ever one advances in the field of medicine, we will not be able to solve the problems, right? So if you have to ask if the material advancement is a real solution for our problems, it is only giving us temporary relief, right? It's not the real solution. And all the more material advancement, what does it give rise to? Set of new problems. So the reason being that we are searching for the right thing in a wrong place. We all want happiness. We all are in this material world. Unfortunately, we are searching for something which is not going to be permanently available in this place. Why is it so? It is because this world is called Dukkha Alayam and Ashashatam. So Dukkhalayam means what? It is a place of misery. I am not saying that. This is mentioned by the Supreme Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Right? So this is something which is the nature of this material world. You cannot avoid these four problems. The problems of birth, death, old age, and disease. How much ever you may try. Right? But unfortunately, even though we are all human beings, but we have never thought about this aspect. We never, in fact, ask this question, why I am suffering? Right? We take it for granted that anybody who takes birth in this world, there would be sufferings and there would be enjoyment. Right? Today I may be suffering, but definitely I have a bright future ahead. I'm going to have great amount of enjoyment. So that is the perception that we all have. We fail to realize that